Salutations, my name is Summer and this is Sterling Reads, and that's Rollo. And I want to talk about what I've read and what I'm currently reading. So, the first book, I don't have the physical book on me. I have no idea what I did with it. I was like, maybe it's in the car, I don't know. And then I thought maybe it fell behind the bed. It was A Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, and I loved it. I loved it from the beginning to the end. I loved I want to say you have 4 to 6 characters that you follow. And I don't want to give anything away because I went in blind. I knew it was about a night circus, but that is it. I didn't know about the game and what happens with the characters and all that. So just go in knowing it's about a night circus and it's very magical. It can be dark in certain areas. Some things that were done to one of our characters was horrible, but it helped her become stronger. So I loved it. Thought it was wonderful. Another book that I finished was A Life of My Own by Clara Tomlin. This is about her life. The only thing I knew about her is I have a biography about Jane Austen, and I believe it's called A Life, that she has written. There's a lot of other ones that she's written, people she's written about. Let's say Charles Dickens and Samuel Pepys or something. I have no idea who he is, but everybody keeps talking about him. So I feel like I should know who he was. And this book, well, it's about her life. So it talks about her childhood, her relationship with her father and mother and siblings, and her marriage. I didn't know anything about her. So there were a lot of heartbreaking moments in this book. Her relationship with her husband was very complicated. Her relationship with her father was very complicated. She always wanted to have 6 children, which I find interesting, because these days you don't meet people who are like, oh, there's Randall, who wants 6 children, but she really did. She was able to have 5. She had a son, Daniel, who passed away young. I mean, I want to say within a week. And her other son, he was born handicapped, spinal bifida, I believe. And then she had 3 daughters who had struggles in their own struggles. I really enjoyed this, didn't I, Randall? I thought it was wonderful. So I would definitely recommend it. I'm looking forward to reading more books that she has written. So, okay, I need to focus now. Randall's distracting me. I read this as a buddy read with Deanna over at Pato the Reader. I'll link her channel down below. This is Elena Knows by Claudia Binario. I'm not for sure how to pronounce her last name, and she's from Argentina. I love this book. I understand now, they had talked about Misery May, and I thought, oh, I don't want to read anything that's kind of about misery, but this would have fit in perfectly, and I loved it. It's about Elena, who in the very beginning you find out that her daughter, they say that her daughter has committed suicide, but Elena knows that can't be true. Keep moving, Randall. Thank you. Because it was raining that day. So it can't be true that her daughter committed suicide. They found her in the bell tower of a church, hanging from the rope. So, what are you doing? Just stand there. Anyway, this is also about how, about Elena's illness. She has Parkinson's and what she has to deal with daily, hourly, by the minute, the medication she's on and how it helps her. And there's also another little side story in here about a woman named Isabel or Isabella, I can't remember. That is really eye-opening about a subject, about women's rights. So I thought this was wonderful. I always love buddy reads with Randall, with Deanna. And this was gifted to me by her. So thank you so much, Deanna. And thank you for reading it with me. Randall. Okay, so something else that I read. Who knew you guys would see so much of Randall? He's usually never around. I read Anne Boleyn. This is A King's Obsession by Alison Weir. This is, of course, her second book in the Six Tudor Queens. I've always been fascinated about Anne Boleyn because of the idea of a husband having his wife beheaded. Sorry, spoiler alert. I always found fascinating. Like, how did that come about? How does that even work, you know? This book, of course, is a work of fiction, historical fiction. There's so much that we will never know. Oh, here's my Sterling. I don't know if he'll come up so you can see him, but he is now on my leg. There's things we will never know about Anne Boleyn, how she felt about things. I do not believe that, at least in the beginning, I don't believe that she was in love with Henry VIII. I think it was more political. Plus, you know, women also had to think about their families. And the more you moved up, the more your families moved up. And as a daughter, you would want to bring more power to your family. I'm still surprised that she was beheaded. I feel like she had a lot of power over Henry VIII's decisions, and that's why they were like, we got to get rid of her, we got to get rid of her quickly. Plus, you know, not being able to give him a living son was another one of her downfalls. But she gave us Elizabeth, who does become queen. So, sorry, there's a lot of spoilers there, but it's, you know, I've been reading about her since I was a teenager. One thing I want to say, I was shocked at the ending. How this book ends is she is beheaded, but it like tells about her, like her feelings about being beheaded, which I was really surprised the author took it there. And so that's where it ends. It ends with her body there and her maid like scooping it up. And I remember that I had and have the ebook, The Mirror and the Light. Thank you, Nathan. And I thought, I'm curious where this, because Bringing Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel, you know, that's when Anne was killed. That's like how it ends. So I thought, I wonder where The Mirror and the Light begins. And I started reading the ebook. I'm only on the second chapter, and I'm loving it. And it picks off exactly where this book, it picks up exactly where this book left off, even though they're not, you know, different authors, whatever, same subject, kind of, you know, this one was about Anne Boleyn, that one's about Cromwell, but I'm loving the experience. I do have the ebook of the next ebook in this series, Jane Seymour. I couldn't think of her name for a second. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up soon, and I'm looking forward to that also. So I'm still in my Tudor, you know, I'm no longer in my Charlene Harris, which I'm really missing Sookie. I'm really missing. There may be some stories that were written after, in little like anthologies of short stories I may find. And you never know. I mean, she's still living. She may give us another one or something about her. Let's see what else I have going on here. There is a book. Okay, so Melissa over at Libraries and Labradors, or Labradors and Libraries, I'm not for sure, one or the other. I'll link her down below. I always enjoy her channel. She is a big, she likes historical fiction, but she also likes historical romance. I am not a romance reader. Every once in a while, I will find one that I love, but I usually steer clear of anything considered a romance. So I'm trying to get rid of some books. And I don't want to get rid of anything I haven't read, though, because you just never know. So Amy over at Zoe Bag, she did, every once in a while she'll do like, try a chapter. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pick up this book and I'm going to try a chapter and see if I want to continue with it. And I picked a book that I thought, oh, it's going to be some silly romance. I'm not going to like it. It is by an author that I heard about on Melissa's channel, that Laverl Spencer. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing her name right. And this is Hummingbird. Okay, so there's a tiny town and they're waiting for a train. Now, I just in the very beginning of this, so I'm telling you. So that it can't be spoilers if we're that, early in the book. A town is waiting for a train to come in, and I want to say it comes in at 9:50. And 10 o'clock comes, and it's like, oh, the train's late. And people are like looking out their windows, the shop owners are waiting for supplies, and they're all just like, what's going on with the train? The train's late. Well, it's like another hour goes by. It's like 11 something, and the train comes plowing into town, and they're trying to get everybody out of the station because they're like, it could jump the tracks. It's going so fast. Well, it doesn't jump the tracks. But when the man manning the train pulls up, he says, I need the doctor. There's been someone tried to rob the train, and another person on the train shot him and was shot in the process. So he has 2 men that are hurt that needs a doctor. So the town people are all like, oh my gosh, and they're running around and trying to get the doctor and trying to get the men and all that. Well, then you go to this woman named, I think they call her Miss Abigail. Her father, she was her father's caregiver, and she's a single woman, maiden woman who's like 33. She is going to town to go to the restaurant to try to get a job because she needs money. She doesn't really want to work at the restaurant, but she's getting desperate. She says something like she doesn't want to do without food. So she goes to the restaurant to talk to, I want to say Lou is the owner of the restaurant, and he's not there. The restaurant's empty. And she had noticed that there was a crowd gathered around the doctor's office, but she's all about minding her own business, so she had just walked past it and not paid any attention. Well, now she goes back, and the doctor is having like a conference. He's asking for help because his nurse is not able to help him. And so Miss Abigail ends up volunteering. And the crowd disperses, and the doctor takes Miss Abigail in, and he said, I was really hoping somebody who was married would have volunteered. And she's like, I don't understand. And he said, well, you're like a maid. And she said, I took care of my father. I had to, she had to wash him. She had to do everything for him while he was ill and dying. And she said, I've seen a man before. Anyway, I guess the outlaw, he was shot in the groin area. And the guy who tried to save the train, he was shot in the big toe. So he's like, he's fine. Anyway, that is what has happened so far in this book. And I am hooked. So this book is going nowhere. I'm definitely going to be reading more of it. But yeah, let me know if you've read Hummingbird. Don't give me any spoilers because, I want to experience it on my own. I'm also still doing my Stephen King project where I reread a book and I read a book. I'm still reading Dreamcatcher, which I have right there. I set it up there while I was trying to figure out organized books because I thought I was going to read a Star Trek, but I haven't. And I'm like over halfway done with my reread of Lisey's story. Dreamcatcher, like Lisey's story, I think this is my 4th time reading it. So I still get immersed in it. You would think, oh, you know what's going to happen. But it's still, I don't know, it affects you even more sometimes when you know what is going to happen. And I don't know. But Dreamcatcher is the first time I'm reading it, and I'm only a couple chapters in. I haven't really heard anybody talk about. I've heard people complain about the movie. I didn't watch it. It's about a group of four men who are older. They've been friends since childhood, and they're going on like a camping trip, holiday, and a storm's coming in, and you're learning a lot about each individual character. At the same time, a man shows up who is sick and confused, and he almost seems like he's from a different dimension. As in, the weather isn't the same. Like he said, oh, it's supposed to be nice. The weather was supposed to be nice and fair. And he's thinking, we got a storm coming in. Like, where is this guy? And then he said he was from an area that was 50 miles away. And he was like, how did he get here? It's just weird. Like, you don't know what's going on. It's weird. Also, he's having these health issues that make you uneasy to hear about. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that also. I'm loving The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. That is the third book in her trilogy. I'm guessing it's just going to be a trilogy. She might pull a Ken Follett and give us a whole series. I don't know. And yeah, I think that is all that's going on. Here's my rollout. He's trying to take a nap. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to be doing a July TBR. There's so much going on in July, and I want to be more organized. I have a lot of different changes going on in my life right now. So I'm doing a bit of a juggling act, and we'll see how things go. But I'm making a TBR for July. So let me know what you guys are reading, if you've read any of these. I'm sorry if I spoiled Anne Boleyn for you. If you haven't read anything about her, it's fascinating. Anything about Tudor times with King Henry VIII, his wives, to have 6 wives, and to behead 2 of them. And he got a male heir from Jane Seymour, but he only lived to be 15. And it almost seems like he really was cursed because of what his parents did when his brother Arthur married Catherine of Aragon. They had to do so. If you don't know, they had to do something horrible to somebody in order to be able to for Arthur to marry Catherine. It was in Spain was demanding for this killing to be done. So, and it does seem like they were cursed for making that decision, because then Arthur dies. And anyway, it's fascinating. I love reading about those things. But here again, with historical fiction, you have to remember not all of this is documented. What is documented, especially when dealing with women in history, it's what man was telling you about it, because they are very opinionated about Anne Boleyn and their feelings about her in some cases. So anyway, yeah, let me know how you're all doing. I'm glad Rollo was able to join us today, and Randall, walking back and forth. I don't know where he went off to. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Let me know what you're reading, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.